Hey there, my name is Sherry Skipworth and I am the Chief Executive Crafter at Handmade University. Welcome to, what is this, May? Yes, wow, I can't believe it's already May. Welcome to the video tutorial for May. The mission for Handmade U is to basically inspire creativity in others, and we're really hoping that our HU Crafty Club will continue to grow and help us spread that mission and spread creativity all across the country. So we're so looking forward, and we thank all of you for purchasing a kit and or subscribing for our monthly box. And so with that said, this month we are obsessed with resin, y'all. It's crazy. It's so cool. It's a trending, resin is definitely a trending craft. This month I'm actually including a link to Pinterest on the page because I have been pinning different projects and stuff like crazy, you know, since playing around with resin. So this month we're gonna create, this is a sample, but we're gonna create something, I don't know if you can see it well, something that looks kind of like this, but of course, yeah, it's a little too bright here, but something like this that you create, you know, using your own patterns, your own style. It'll really allow us to explore our creativity and see what we come up with. Before we dive into any projects though, we have to talk about resin safety. It's so important, y'all. Resin is one of those craft supplies that is so much fun to use, but there are a lot of safety considerations, and it's great, you know, if you are aware of them and you're following them, resin can be great. But if you're not aware of them and you're not following them, then resin can actually be pretty harmful. And so I just want to make sure that we are all aware and familiar and are doing our best to practice safety when it comes to resin. The first thing that I want to tell you is that you have to be in a well-ventilated space. So I'm in my studio right now. It doesn't have a lot of windows. There's one window, one door, but I'm opening the window. I have a fan that I put in a window that I turn. It has like the dual blade so that I can turn one to do exhaust and one to bring in air, and so I'm trying to constantly circulate the little bit of air there is. I'm also sitting as close as possible to the window right now, so I'm trying to get as much airflow as I can in my space. Ideally, I would do this outside. Why not? If it's a nice day and you can sit on the porch, or if you have a backyard, you can sit out in the backyard or in your garage, whatever, and do this outside where you don't have to worry about ventilation. The second thing that I want to mention has to do with wearing a mask and wearing safety glasses. So resin itself is at least the resin that we're using, epoxy resin, it's non-toxic. Problem really comes in for folks that are allergic to resin. Who knows if they're allergic to resin? How would I know that if I have never played around with it? I don't know. So it's better to practice the safety, wear the mask, wear the goggles, just in case, right? Just in case. Why not? Since this is a one-time kind of a project or whatever, I sent you all an N95 mask. The N95 mask will filter out some of the odor or the fumes, but it's not like a foolproof mask, okay? So for me, the N95 mask, that's the minimum mask. That's the, if I'm not wearing anything else, I'm gonna wear this N95 mask, okay? And so I provided you all with that. But if resin is something that you're excited about and you think that you're gonna get into, you wanna do a lot more, and you're gonna be investing time, energy, and your financial resources into getting supplies, then I highly recommend that you get a respirator mask. And I'll pop a picture into the video right here so that you can see what type of mask I'm talking about. These masks, they're the kind that painters would use or construction workers would use. They come in a half mask version and they come in a full mask version, but these masks will help protect your respiratory system, okay? And so that's like if you love this and you want to get serious about it, maybe you want to make more art, you want to do tumblers, or you want to do pins, or any of the 100 things that I pinned on Pinterest so far. I would suggest making that investment, and they're about $35–40 for one of those masks. So the resin that we're using is Puduo brand, Puduo, and I'll have links to their website as well as to the safety data sheets for the resin that we're using. Their resin, once it fully cures, okay? Curing meaning that it's no longer liquid, it has gone through its reactions and it is hard, okay? There's a hard surface now. Once it's fully cured, their resin is actually FDA safe, which means that you could serve food on it and it's supposed to be safe. I'm not telling you to eat food off of resin. I'm just letting you know that the FDA has deemed that it is safe to use once it is fully cured. And then the other thing that I want to mention is that there's a term that's thrown around with resin called VOC. VOC stands for volatile organic compound, and these can be natural or they can be man-made, but the level of VOC determines the level of harm that could be given to the environment. And so low VOCs, like the resin that we're using, low VOCs are not harmful to the environment, they're not harmful to living organisms, so they're okay for us. High VOCs, they introduce elements into the air, right? You may not smell anything, but that doesn't mean that there's not fumes or gases present, right? This means that there's a low odor. So if it has a high VOC, it's introducing these elements into the air that's going to react with the oxygen in the air. And if you add some sunlight to that mix, then it's a whole cocktail of danger. And it actually has an effect on the ozone and the environment around us, and it can be very corrosive to our walls or paints or pipes or whatever. And so if it corrodes a pipe, then I don't want to know what it can do to my insides. Okay, so I feel like I have said a whole lot. I hope that this is helpful, and please make sure that you take a moment to read all of the safety information on the front of the project guide. If you have a heat tool, you can bring your heat tool back out for this project, and so just be mindful of the considerations around using your heat tool as well. So with that said, let's get started with the projects. Woo. All right, everyone, I am putting my safety gear on for our first project, which is the Resin Canvas art. Got my gloves on. If resin gets on your skin, you should immediately stop what you're doing and you should go wash it off just using some soap and some water. And if you don't feel like that did the trick, then the natural remedy is to do some vinegar, but I don't recommend anything else because we don't know how the chemicals that are in some of the cleaners and stuff, how they react with the resin. So keep it simple, soap and water or vinegar. Alright, so for project number 1, the Resin Canvas art, the first thing that you want to do is prepare your workspace. Cut some cardboard or some newspaper. If you don't have those things, wax paper or parchment paper would also work. Or if you have a drop cloth or an old shower curtain, an old sheet, whatever you can put down to protect your table surface. You also want to try to make sure that you're doing this on a level surface, because the resin will still move. It will shift. And so if your surface is not level, then all of your resin will lean to one side and just fall right off your canvas. So as level as possible. So I'm going to start by taking some of these white cups, my bathroom cups, and I'm just going to put them down and kind of make a platform with it. And then I'm going to take my, canvas and just put it on top. Alright, so you all have a Mica scoop. This is what we're going to use to measure out our colors. Okay, so we're gonna add our mica and our glitters to these cups, and then we'll set them aside, okay? This scoop equals 0.15 milliliters. And what's important to know is that when we add color to our projects, we kind of want to stick within like a 5% range. So if we have 10 milliliters of resin, you got to do the math. What's 5% of that? And then that's the maximum amount of color that you can use, okay? Some colorants have a little bit higher of a range. I like to stick with the 5% just simply because I know that my product will still come out good. Sometimes if you use too much, it might change the composition and the chemistry, and then your project doesn't come out the way that you planned. At any rate, we are not using the maximum amount for this project, so if you wanted to add a little bit more color, you want them to be a little bit darker, you totally can. You can add the micas in before you pour your resin in, or you can add it in after. So for the color blue, I'm going to do 3 of these scoops, which will give us about 0.45 or almost 0.5 milliliters. And they're not exact scoops, you know, they're kind of heaping. Sometimes it doesn't all come out, but 2, 3. Alright, next I'm going to do 3 scoops of black into my next cup. For the white, we're using a little bit more resin, so I'm going to add a little bit more. So I'm going to actually put 5 scoops in the white. Hopefully y'all can see this, because I can't see what is being recorded right now. I'm just kind of guessing where the camera is. And then for my last cup, I'm just going to do some glitter. And I got silver glitter here. I always tap them down because I feel like there could be, you know, mica or glitter at the top. But I'm gonna do 3 scoops. Glitter doesn't actually color your resin; it just kind of mixes in. So you can add as much or as little glitter as you want. There's not really a chemical reaction that takes place. Now I'm going to go ahead and start mixing my resin. So I'm going to use my 100 milliliter measuring cup. Now, there's a couple ways you can do this. I found it's easier to just work with 1 cup, but some people prefer to measure out part A in 1 cup, part B in another cup, and then put those together into 1 cup. I like to just do it from the start with 1 cup, so that way I feel like when I'm scraping out the other cups, I don't want to miss anything, and I have to be extra careful. So like, we're doing 100 here, and so we need to make sure that we don't go over that line. So we have to be really careful. So I recommend doing this very slowly and very carefully. So I put my resin in these squeeze bottles. This is the same stuff that you got, y'all, in your bottles, okay? I literally squeeze it out of this bottle into your bottle. Resin works best in a warm room. So if your room at a minimum should be 65 degrees. Ideally, you want to work in a room that's 70, 75 degrees, okay? If your resin is you know, not flowing well, or you feel like it's too thick, you can warm it up, okay? The way that you warm it up is you would sit this whole bottle inside of a cup of warm water. That's it. Let it sit there for a couple minutes. It'll warm it right up. Now we are going to start mixing. Again, for our resin, we need a 1-to-1 ratio of part A and part B. We're going to begin by adding 50 milliliters of part A to our measuring cup And then we're gonna add 50 milliliters of part B to our measuring cup. Okay, the next step is to stir it. You'll notice that there's already some bubbles in there. We don't want to create a ton more bubbles by how we stir it. So you're going to stir it slowly. And we're stirring it for 3 minutes, y'all. It's a long time, I know, but we're going to stir for 3 minutes because we want to make sure that it's mixed well. I'm going to come a little closer so you can see this. Alright, so I'm literally mixing it slowly. Now, what you'll notice is you can see like the two different parts, you can actually see streaks. This is called striation. And so we're stirring this for 3 minutes until we get rid of that striation. You see it? It's like little streaks. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stir now. Our goal is for it to not be cloudy. We want it to be clear. Clear with no streaks. Now that our resin is mixed and we're feeling good about it, we're gonna go ahead and add it in with our micas. Now these cups have all kinds of measurements, and so I'm just gonna turn them till I can see milliliters because that's what we're working with today. Okay, so for the blue, I'm just gonna wipe that off. All right, for the blue, I'm gonna add 20 milliliters. Woo! Okay, that's 20 milliliters. For the black, we're adding 20 milliliters again. For the white, we're adding 30. So we're taking that up to the top line. Okay, and for the glitter, we're adding about 15. And then we should still have some clear in the cup. So those are the colors that we're working with today. So you want to take your sticks and give each color a mix until it's fully incorporated. Yes, we're stirring some more. And so just remember, be mindful, in order to reduce or keep your bubbles low, you want to stir slowly. Ooh, that is gorgeous. Can you see that color? My light went off, I can't get it back on, but can you see that color? Woo! All right, just keep mixing it until you don't want speckles of mica in it if possible. So try to mix and make sure you scrape the sides. Now it's time to create some art. So the first thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna create what's called a flood coat. Every time you use your resins, give them a mix, give them another stir before you use them. Hopefully everything's well incorporated. Alright, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour probably about 10 milliliters. If it's a little more, that's okay. Okay, we're gonna pour about 10 milliliters onto our canvas. And then this is where we can use our silicone tool. We want to spread it out. Once we start this process, we have about 30 minutes. So make sure you're moving carefully but quickly. Okay, now once you got that on there, now it's time to get creative and start adding different colors, okay? So you can take, you have your black, you have clear, you have blue, and you have more of this white. I'm going to start with my blue today because it's closest to me. So remember, I'm going to give it a stir. Okay, and then I'm literally just going to pour it on. So over here, I'm going to try to get a thin line and just go like that. Okay, and then here I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm bring it down here. And you just keep doing this until you do one more. Whee! Okay. Put that down. Now I'm gonna go in with some black. And I'm gonna kind of do the same thing. I'm gonna follow my pattern. Whoop. It's okay if it drips in other places. It's all good. I'm gonna go on this side too and break that up. Let's get some inside there. Put some inside there. Put a little over here. Okay. I don't know, it's kind of weird right now. Let's add some glitter. Alright, so once you're like, I like it, you can stop. Even if you have resin left, you can stop. I see some spaces over here. So there's a couple things that you can do here. For those of you who, everyone has a straw. So open your straw. And for this, you're gonna have to take down your mask a little bit. Okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna blow through the straw. You don't want to suck up any of this resin, y'all. You just want to blow air on it. And it moves it. Oh, it's looking cool. Ooh. Okay, so you can kind of keep doing that until you're happy with how it looks. You can also pick it up. Sorry, I'm just putting my mask back on before I get this resin all over it. This is going to get all over your hands if you do this. So you can actually pick it up and move, tilt it. Right? You can put your fingers in it. I like to do that to make sure my edges are all good. Alright, I think I need some more because I have, you know, after it sits for a minute, you'll notice that there might be some dips and whatnot. So I'm going to add a little bit more. I have a lot of blue, so I'm going to do the blue. And add a little bit of blue over here to fill in these holes. Alright, if you have a heat tool, you can also use the heat tool to move the resin around. Okay, so you just let it heat up. Remember when we talked about level? So my table is a little off level towards that way, so I keep getting, you know, there's like nothing on this side, and then it's dripping over that side over there. Okay, now, I'm happy with that. I think it's gorgeous. It's better than the last one that I did. I'm so happy with it. And yes, I have resin all over my table. This is why you cover it. Okay, so at this point, we just need to let this sit for a moment, okay? And after we let it sit, we can come back and we can check and see if any bubbles have formed. We're back for some bubble popping fun, y'all. So in your kit, you got some toothpicks. I don't see any large bubbles on mine, but what you would do if you see a bubble, you gotta get down close, y'all. Got a bubble? Okay, you just go in and pop it. Just like that, simple as that. Now, if you don't like the toothpick and you don't have a heat tool, you can use a lighter. So if you see a bubble, you just put your flame across it like that. And that will pop any bubbles. For project 2, we're going to be doing some geode casting. So anytime you're playing with resin and you're using a mold, this is called casting, versus what we did with the canvas was called coating. So first and foremost, make sure you wipe out your mold. You can wash it with like soap and water, but just make sure that it's thoroughly dry before you use it. We're going to mix colors using acrylic paint this time. Okay, so I'm going to attempt, my favorite color is purple. I'm going to attempt to have some purple and blue because those are my brand colors. So I'm going to use my popsicle sticks, I think. And I'm just gonna scoop out, not that much, but just a little bit of the blue paint, and I'm gonna add it to this cup. You don't want a lot of paint because you don't want to change the composition of the formula, because it could impact, whether or not it gets hard or not. So just a little bit. Alright, so that's the blue. And then, alright, you just sit there for me. Perfect. Then, to make purple, you need blue and red. So I'm going to scoop out red and add that in with my blue. And I'm going to just mix that around. See what I get. Guess what, y'all? I got some purple. Now, if you have like parchment paper or something like that, you could always mix this on the parchment paper and then put it into your cup when it's the color that you want it to be. Alright, I'm happy with that. Alright, so I got my colors. Purple and blue. I've already mixed up my clear resin, so that's ready to rock and roll. So I'm gonna go ahead and add some of this to each of these cups. Love it. And you know what? I think I'm gonna do some white. I don't know. I'm feeling like I need some white, so I'll grab my mica. Okay. So here's the mold that I'm going to use for this project. You have 2 molds, so you can choose which one you use. The way that I figured out how much resin I needed is I took the largest mold, because these are all different sizes, but I took the largest mold that I had and I filled it up with water. And then I poured the water out into a measuring cup so that I could measure, and it came out to be about 90 milliliters of water, which is about the same, of water, which is about the same that we used on the canvas. So I was like, oh, this is going to take a lot of resin. But at any rate, you can use whichever one you want. We're going to start at the outside perimeter, but you could start in the center. The choice is yours. So I'm going to start with probably purple. Give it another stir. And I'm just going to pour the purple along the edge. Okay. Okay, cool. After the purple, I think I'm gonna go in with some blue. And I'm just gonna go right on the inner part of the purple, right? So I'm just gonna go right next to it and pour my blue. And you can get creative with this, y'all. You can play around and you can try like thicker lines, thinner lines, whatever makes you happy, you know? Alright, then I'm gonna go in with some white. This definitely is not anywhere near how thick I want it to be. But that's okay. I'm now gonna go in my center, and if there wasn't a hole here, I would still pour the clear right into the center. Okay. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add in some crushed glass. So you have a container of crushed glass. This is actually glass, so I don't want to stick my fingers in it. So you have two options. You can, you know, take it out piece by piece and drop it in there with your tweezers. Or I'm going to use this spoon, and I'm just going to literally, ooh yeah. I'm putting a lot. Okay. That looks good to me. So, I got that in there. So now what I'm gonna do, now again, you could have done multiple rings, you could have done a lot more, but I'm just gonna go back and add some more to build it up a little higher. So I'm gonna go back in with my purple. I'm trying to build it a little higher this time. Okay, so that's it for my purple. See if there's anything in there to scrape out. It's a little worth scraping. Okay, that's my purple. So my purple's done. So then I'm gonna hit it with my blue again. Get some white right around the outskirts here. Make it push that blue out a little bit. Okay. Still a little white in there, but okay. And then go ahead and I'm going to top it off with the clear. I'm going to make sure that all that glass is covered completely. Okay. So now you can play around with it. So you can use your straw or your heat tool and manipulate I'm gonna try to see if I can get everything to like point towards the center. Alright, I'm gonna see what happens if I take my stick and trace it in. You can try all types of different things with these coasters. Whoop, got some white up there. That's okay. Ooh. So I'm just taking my stick and dragging it in, because I want it to come in towards the center. I think that is beautiful. Like, I'm gonna leave it alone because I think it's beautiful. Okay, so try different things, get creative, you know, try swirls, you could do rings, you know, do a small purple, small blue, small white, small purple, small blue, and keep doing rings. If I had did a whole bunch of rings and then drew those lines in, it would look so cool. You can find some assistance with mixing your colors as well as some assistance with design in this project guide. But you can also find a lot of different resources if you check out the resources on the website, okay? So, we're gonna let this sit for like 5 minutes to see if any bubbles come up to the surface, and if they do, we will then go ahead and pop them with our toothpicks or use our heat tool or a lighter. So that's it for project 2 for now. Once it gets hard, then we'll have to come back and take it out of the mold. So I'll check you back later. So what do we do if we have all of this resin left after our project, and we know that the resin only has like a 30 to 40 minute working time, so it's probably not going to be good for that much longer, right? So what do we do with it? We threw in a bonus bookmark mold this month, and I have more resin than I need for this bookmark mold, but it'll be great. So what do we do with this resin? Well, our instructions tell us this month we're going to be making a 2-tone bookmark, and it's very simple. You know, you put your mold on the flat surface, get your surface all set up. We learned all about this in the first project. You mix your resin. For this mold, it only holds about 16 milliliters of resin, and so I have more than that left over. But if you were making this and you didn't have anything left over, you wouldn't need to mix that much resin. Once you've mixed your resin, in the project we recommend having 2 colors. You can actually do as many colors as you want. Once you have your colors mixed, then you go ahead and you add them to the mold. So for this bookmark, I guess it's going to match my canvas because I have a lot of these colors left. I have a lot of blue So I'm going to use the blue and the black, I think, for this bookmark. So I'm giving it another stir. Okay, I'm just going to put the blue at the bottom down here. And I'm going to use my stick to help it along, get to the edges and everything. Cool, 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 cool. Then I'm going to put my blue at the top, I think. Make sure it gets around, you know, the little knobby thing there. Cool beans. So it's meeting. Now I think right in this area, I'm gonna grab my straw. Whew. I can't get down low enough. I gotta move my chair out the way. Here we go. I'm warming it up because it's not moving very freely. I guess it went cold. My room is 70 degrees, so maybe it's just a little chilly in here. Now let me try. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so what I did is I'm happy. Hey HU Crafty Club Box members, I just wanted to come on real quick and show you the aftermath of our project. So here you can see I have just the resin that dripped off my canvas and different things. So if you had a silicone mat literally, it peels right off. See? Just peels off. So that's the benefit of having the silicone mat. These cups, I can reuse them for the next project if they're not completely stuck. And then your tool, if you have silicone on the tip here, you can literally just peel it off. Okay? So you can just peel it off and then you'll be ready to go. All right, moving on. Here's my canvas. I actually love the way it turned out. I really, really like this section over here. This is the corner where it was actually pouring off, and I just love how it came together there. So I hope your canvas came out amazing as well. And then for the things, the resin casting that we did, we had two. We had the Bookmark and we had the Resin Geode. So here's my Bookmark. Literally, to demold it, you just peel the mold off. Voila. So I accidentally got a piece of foil on mine somehow. I don't know. But this is what mine looks like on the front. And then that's what it looks like on the back. Okay, so this was our two-tone Bookmark. With the tassel that you have, what you're going to do is go ahead and like pinch the end of the tassel, and then you're going to thread that through the hole as best you can and pull it out the other side. Okay, so once you have that loop going through the hole in the Bookmark, then you can take the bottom of the tassel over the top of the Bookmark and put it through the loop and pull. And this is my Bookmark, everybody. Sorry about the lighting, it's a little dark, but okay, that's my Bookmark. And then I'm super excited about this last piece. I love the way that it came out. Again, you're just gonna peel the mold away from the sides of the piece. And then you can just peel it off the bottom. Okay. So my glass, I can see that in the center. Because it's clear, it's not super easy to see, but I see it's in there. Maybe I should put a little bit more. But this is one side, and then when I turn it over, this is what it looks like on the back. Looks a little different. So this, you can use it as a coaster. It's a little big though, so you could also, excuse me, when you use it as a coaster, make sure you're only using it for cold drinks. I would not put hot drinks on here. You can also just use it as a piece of art. So you could get like a little easel, stick it on that easel, and just go ahead and display that. All right, so that's the demolding process for our projects this month. Hope you have a good time. Have fun. Can't wait to see you post your projects in our Facebook group. Bye.